is Common Sense Radio. Straightforward and no excuses.
All right. Come on now.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Call me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
What I said was perfectly right and spot on accurate.
Boy's got a mouth like a cannon, always shooting it all.
Stop. Yeah, stop. I mean, you're way off script.
Got it in me. Gonna quit until it all comes out.
Hey, boy.
Long education.
Yeah, you know, it's not cynical. It's common sense.
My homework is
Pay attention to me when I'm talking to you.
I'm gonna rock the nation. Rock the nation.
Genuine, accountable, and raw. Here is Steve Gruber.
All right, and welcome to it, my friends. It is Wednesday. Wednesday here on the Steve Gruber Show. The phone number here, 888-900-9966. You need to get involved because you're part of the solution. Crazy weather pounding parts of southern Michigan right now. It's monsoon season in parts of southern Michigan, DeWitt and Lansing, on its way to Ann Arbor. Wild weather. I mean, just wicked. I thought the weather was supposed to be, all nice for the whole week, but apparently there was a thunderstorm or two that did not get the memo. So I make you aware of it because the weather is just rocking. And there's just little pockets all across the state from Saginaw Bay, a little storm outside of Saginaw, to a couple of storms between Lansing and Flint. Some real strong cells, 2 or 3 pounding in the Lansing area. Then if you go around Kalamazoo and Portage, there's a couple of around Hillsdale. They're not very big, but they're potent. So keep that in mind when you're cruising around today. Could run into a powerful storm somewhere. Now, what I'm about to enlighten you with is as disheartening as anything you're going to hear today. And this is probably the only place you're going to hear this today or maybe ever. A federal appeals court, a United States federal appeals court, has ruled there is no constitutional right. There just isn't a constitutional right for parents to choose what public school their children attend. You heard me right. A federal appeals court has ruled that no constitutional right exists for parents to choose what public school their children attend, a blow to efforts to expand public schools of choice. The case was decided Monday of this week, 2 days ago. It revolves around a group of parents in Blytheville, Arkansas, who in 2013 sought to transfer their kids to a neighboring school district or districts with better student performance records. Blytheville School District blocked the parents' requests and stopped the transfers, citing a desegregation order the district received more than 40 years ago. You see, the parents that wanted to leave were white, and Blytheville is a majority black school. It's all about race. The parents sued in 2013, claiming they had a constitutional right to choose what public school their children attended, in addition to the long-recognized right to enroll in private schools. But now comes the decision from the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals. It is a 2-1 decision that says parents have no such right. You do not have the right to choose what school your child attends. How does that make you feel? Here's part of the ruling, and I quote, "There is no relevant precedent to support the proposition that a parent's ability to choose where his or her child is educated within the public school system is a fundamental right or liberty," says the majority ruling written by Judge Levensky Smith, who, by the way, is a George W. Bush appointee. Smith also said there is no evidence the parents were treated differently simply because they were white. Well, if you're citing a desegregation order, then why would race be relevant at all in the conversation unless you're citing specifically a desegregation order, which is what the school did to block the transfer? The parents could ask for the case to be reheard before the entire 8th Circuit, or they could attempt to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. That may not happen, though, because the court issue is largely moot, since Arkansas has amended state law to eliminate the ability for districts to block transfers on desegregation grounds. The ruling was made anyway because of the possibility for monetary damages. But the fact of the matter that a federal court, the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals, says you have no right, no liberty to choose what school your child attends. How does that make you, what does that make you think today? What does that make you think today about where we are as a nation? It takes a village, apparently, to raise a child. It takes a village. And it does not take any parents, apparently. You, the parents, are no longer relevant in the conversation. That's what your takeaway should be from this. You as parents have no relevance in this conversation, and why should you? Yes, it's absolutely crazy, but you've heard it here, and you haven't heard it anywhere else, now have you? No. There you have it. It's the Steve Gruber Show. If you have any comments on that, the phone number 888-900-9966. And how about this, for one other thought about where the nation is going? Franchises have argued in an appeals court yesterday that the Seattle $15 minimum wage doesn't just disproportionately hurt their businesses. It was designed specifically to be that way, they claim. Seattle led the way in implementing a $15 minimum wage back in June of 2014 to help mitigate, they said, the potential for economic harm. The increase was written to phase in over the course of several years, with small businesses allowed extra time to adjust. Small business except individually owned franchises. Hundreds of small locally owned businesses and thousands of their employees are unfairly threatened by Seattle's new law, the International Franchise Association president Steve Caldera said back in June. We are not seeking special treatment for franchisees. We are seeking equal treatment under the law. The association filed the lawsuit on behalf of several local franchisees after the lawsuit was rejected by U.S. District Judge Richard Jones last year. The association began taking steps in March to appeal the decision. See, the problem is, despite many franchisees being associated with large brand names like McDonald's, they are actually small businesses, often standalone. Franchising is unique because it allows a small business to contract with a large corporation in order to use its brand name to sell its products. Some believe that the minimum wage laws are designed to destroy the franchise model, the American franchise model, being targeted by the minimum wage approach. According to the lawsuit, some members of the advisory committee that developed the minimum wage law have admitted it's meant to hurt franchises. Advisory member David Roth allegedly said several times the city minimum wage is designed to break the franchise model. End quote. Break the franchise model. And break the American model as well. It's 14 after the hour. You have no right to educate your kids, and we will destroy America. That is the goal of the Bernie Sanders crowd. It's the Steve Gruber Show on a Wednesday.
Covering Michigan and the world from his bunker below the bridge. Here is Steve Gruber.
It's 18 after the hour. Welcome to it, my friends. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Like I said, some small but really powerful thunderstorms cruising across the state, all the way from Saginaw Bay south to the Indiana-Ohio line. Just keep that in mind. They're small, but they're really intense. So just make you aware of that. We were just talking about how important it is for the government to choose what school your kid goes to, because apparently it's not a constitutional right, according to the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals here in the U.S. Federal court saying you have no right, frankly, to decide where your kids go to school. But thankfully, the government is on your side when it comes to ferreting out important problems like fake mayonnaise. I mean, the government's there to stand up for you just in case of a fake mayonnaise emergency. I can't kid you about this. Our next guest, our good friend and contributor, Julie Gunlock, senior fellow at the Independent Women's Forum. Julie, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me on.
God bless America. We can be protected from fake mayonnaise because I appreciate that. When I'm having a burger, damn it, I don't want to be, having fake mayonnaise slid across my plate.
That's right. I mean, if you needed an example that the government's gotten a little too big, this is a good one. I mean, there's so many. There are so many examples, but this is the latest. Yeah, the FDA is going to crack down on this company for producing what they call a fake mayonnaise.
Faux mayonnaise.
Faux mayonnaise, yes.
Faux mayo, yeah.
Yes, this is a company that produces mayonnaise without the use of eggs. It's a vegan mayonnaise. I haven't tried it. I've actually seen it in the store.
So, wait a second. Are we going to crack down on vegan burgers? I mean, can I have just a little aside here?
Yes.
If you're a vegan, why the hell do you want it to look like a burger, taste like a burger, and appear? If you're a vegan, why would you even eat such a thing? Why would there be such a thing as a vegan burger? First of all, it's an oxymoron. And secondly, why would you want such a thing? The fact that they're representing the idea of killing animals, I find upsetting to begin with. Anyhow, carry on.
No, I agree. I mean, but look, I think certain people accept these lifestyles because they think it's healthier.
Uh-huh.
And then they have trouble giving up certain things. And so, look, there's a market for this stuff. I mean, I think it's kind of insane, too. But there is a market for, you've heard of those sort of meat crumbles where it's made out of soy protein.
Oh, yeah.
And they make it to look like ground beef, and people add it to chili, and they can't even tell. And and so, look, there's a market because, again, look, food trends and diet trends, I mean, that's the rage now, right? We're all going to be paleo. Oh, no. Next minute they're going to be vegan. Next minute they're going to be this. And so, again, it creates these markets for products like this. So these very smart, innovative guys have developed a mayonnaise that is without eggs. And apparently the FDA is very offended by this because it thinks that to call it mayonnaise, to have that word in it, it has to contain eggs. So they're cracking down. They've sent a warning letter to the company telling them that they can't have the word mayonnaise in their title.
No, but I'm feeling offended. Thank God. They're cracking down on that, but it takes a private citizen to point out that Chipotle and their claim of having no GMOs is false. It takes a California one, probably a vegan. From California, probably a vegan. Had to crack down and say, that's BS, Chipotle. I mean, why can't the government step up on that one? And in a related note here on the program, Julie, marijuana use among college students is at a 35-year high. I think that explains a lot of these headlines.
That's probably why people want this eggless mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Bong down, where's the mayo? Yeah. I get lost about, here's the government. But here's the thing, you create these giant bureaucracies, all kidding aside, and you create these giant oversight groups, whether it's the EPA or the FDA or the USDA or pick your alphabet soup, right?
Yeah.
And you've got all these people hired to do whatever, and here's the book, and the book hasn't been updated in 12 years, and when it was updated 12 years ago, it was still out of date then, but here it is, and follow the rules and dust it off and go to work, and who do I talk to? Don't worry about it. You've got a job, pat them on the back and send them out the door, and this is the kind of result you get because they have no idea what they're doing. They have no training in what they're doing, and yet they're supposed to implement these regulations on you, me, and everybody else. But they're doing it from a point of ignorance. Yeah, and what's frustrating, I think, for people like me who have been following sort of food policy for a lot of years, is that you realize that agencies like the FDA, the USDA, the HHS, they have been getting dietary guidelines wrong for years and years. I mean, we know this. We know this from their latest flip-flop, where they said, "Oh, oops, cholesterol really isn't a nutrient of concern. Sorry about all those delicious omelets and scrambled eggs and other things containing saturated fat that you've missed over the years." So what's interesting to me is everybody agrees on this, that the FDA got it wrong, that the Dietary Guidelines Committee, it's a sort of a group of different agencies, they all got it wrong, and yet you have these food nannies who want to give the government more power. The lesson isn't, okay, maybe we need to reduce the power of government that has such an influence over the American diet. No, we need to increase it. That's the thing that really confuses me, is why over and over again we prove that the federal government gets these dietary guidelines wrong, dietary advice wrong, and also they're very slow to change things, and yet the answer from people like Michael Bloomberg and other of the food nannies is, let's give the government more power. It's very frustrating. Well, yeah, let's always give the government more power and more money because that'll solve it.
That'll solve it.
Yeah, that'll solve it. America spends more money per pupil on education than any country in the Western world, but yet we need more money.
Right.
Oh,
right.
Boy. Okay, Julie, so the insanity is not going to stop, and this sort of thing's not going to stop. I'm just wondering, what are you doing with your time that you find faux mayo stories?
Well, look.
The hell are you doing?
Look, I actually applaud companies like the company that's created this faux mayo. Again, there is a market for this stuff, and people are, look, people should be able to choose. This is why I think we need less government and more personal control. I may not agree with the paleo diet. I may not agree with the vegan lifestyle. I may not agree with all these different trends. But people should be able to make these sort of food decisions for themselves. And if we had more personal control over our diets and less government control, people would probably be a lot healthier. Unfortunately, the government's made some very bad recommendations, and we've seen obesity go up in this country. There are a lot of factors.
There are a lot of factors. We got to leave it there. I'm going to go with the pro gluten diet. It's a beer based. It's a beer based diet.
Right.
Julie, you'll enjoy it. Julie Gunlock, everybody. Yeah, but have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
Michigan, born and raised with Midwestern values and Michigan common sense.
Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you
it's 33 after the hour.
Then you better
thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Come on, you know that, right? That's his real name. All righty, though. Yeah, there you have it. From Minnesota, believe it or not, greatest folk hero of our generation, potentially. I like Arlo Guthrie, but anyhow. Welcome back to it. It's 33 after the hour here on the Steve Gruber Show, trying to keep you, moving along on this morning. Trying to keep you up to speed on what's happening. There was a lot of talk briefly, and then it kind of faded away, about the economic straits that Puerto Rico is in. Puerto Rico has been, an American territory for decades. And Puerto Rico's broke. Yeah, the labor participation there, something like 40%, 41%. No joke. Huge. And it used to have huge labor participation. Then all the policies changed it, and welfare became much more prevalent, and Puerto Rico is in a flat spin economically. Jesse Hathaway here, managing editor of the Budget and Tax News, a publication of the Heartland Institute, to talk more about it. Jesse, welcome to the program.
Well, thanks for having me on the show this morning, Steve. It's a real honor.
Well, let me ask you about Puerto Rico. In fact, I have two house guests that are from Puerto Rico. My wife's grandparents here grew up there, love the place, love America, and have lived on the mainland for many, many years, but just feel the place is a mess right now. So what went wrong in Puerto Rico?
People ask me this question, and I just have to answer that. Puerto Rico has been kind of an example of what not to do, economically speaking. So it's for me, it's kind of difficult to pick just one thing that's gone wrong there over the years. But one of the main problems is that they've simply made it just too expensive to do business there. In between we have here in the mainland, when you or I or your listeners are negotiating, when they're getting hired somewhere, we have a lot of fringe benefits that are treated as bonuses, like sick pay or what holidays you get off, that sort of thing. Puerto Rico has that sort of thing baked into the law, and when you make it too expensive to do business in your state, businesses leave, and then in turn people leave, and then their tax dollars leave with them, and then lawmakers see that that budgets aren't being balanced, and so they raise taxes, and you just get this vicious I call it the economic death spiral, is created. The problem feeds on itself. And, we're actually already starting to see this problem in some states here in the U.S.
Well, sure. I mean, you look at, and I've relayed this story a few times, but I guess one of the light bulb moments for me, if you will, I was driving home and coming across Indiana near the city of Fort Wayne and picked up a talk radio program, not unlike this one, I suppose. And Fort Wayne, I learned in the brief period of time that I was listening to the radio, was $500 million in debt. It's an average-sized Midwestern city, not significant in size. And I thought to myself, my God, every place I go, I hear about every city, from Detroit to Chicago to Baltimore to Pittsburgh, all in debt. Well, here's a small Midwestern city, $500 million in debt. And I think to myself, okay, how is it that America, every single city just about, the majority of the cities, the majority of everything, it has found themselves in this incredible debt? How is this possible? How did Americans across the board, and it goes from Puerto Rico to Pittsburgh, found themselves mired in this incredible debt?
Well, two examples of other states applying the what not to do model, if you will, that I always go back to are California and New York. And both these states have, as you mentioned, a real problem with public debt. So in California's case, when you add up the cost of, putting off payments to the state's liabilities, deferring Medicaid payment, just saying, we'll pay this Medicaid payment later, and other accounting gimmicks, and California taxpayers, they're on the hook for, millions in liabilities. Billions. I was off by a couple orders of magnitude there. And it works out to every single Californian. They have their share of the public debt is about, it's over $1,100 per person. And actually Michigan, unfortunately, Michigan's not much better off.
No, I wouldn't think so. Where does Michigan stack up in the, how does that work?
Okay, so, when you add up, the cost of, promising more pension entitlements than the state can actually pay, the outstanding government debt, and the cost of unemployment trust fund loans and so on, Michigan has about $142.7 billion, that's with a B, dollars in debt, and that's about $14,435 per person.
142. You said $142 billion in debt. What does that represent?
That represents how much the debt and the deficit are related. I mean, this is the debt. This is the liabilities.
Right. I didn't ask the question very well.
The outstanding money that's owed on all the statewide things that the government is spending on.
Now, this doesn't include cities and municipalities. This is just the state load, right?
That's just the state load, yes.
Right. You see, because there's a lot of debate in Michigan about whether the debt is $75 billion or $142 billion. There's a lot of debate about that. I accept your number as probably being more accurate. The problem is we're in a state where the budget was just completed recently. The entire budget is less than $55 billion. So the debt load is triple the entire budget, and there's not enough money in the budget to come up with $2 billion to fix our roads currently, which therein is the big problem. Jesse, I'll give you 30 seconds for the last word.
So basically, the problem is that in general, our elected officials are looking at taxpayers as basically ATMs. And instead, the best way to solve the debt problem is encouraging businesses to move there with good business-friendly policies, which in turn encourages people to move there to fill those jobs. People spend money, pay taxes. The problem solved by creating, by growing the pie, not by having government take a larger share of people's earnings.
Yeah, if we could just get there. Jesse, I greatly appreciate the time. Wish we had more of it. There you have it. Jesse Hathaway, everybody here, the editor of Budget and Tax News here on the Steve Gruber Show. Puerto Rico's in trouble, and so might the rest of us be.
Keeping you in touch with Michigan and the world.
It's alright if you love me. It's alright if you don't.
All righty. It's 45 after the hour. And we're going to take a look at some education. A change in education, I suppose, is the way to put it. You know, there's been a lot of talk over my lifetime about different ways to approach education. And obviously, with the internet and so forth, a lot of folks consider the internet and online learning to be a way to reach more students, regardless of age, whether in primary schools or secondary education or in college or, wherever you might be. Our next guest is Matthew Anderson, a partner with Engaged Education and the Life Tech Academy. Matthew, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
Okay, so give me, there's going to be skeptics, and I might be one of them, but I'm going to let you lay it out for me. Tell me what the Life Tech Academy is and how you approach education.
Yeah. So Life Tech Academy is really very unique. It's Michigan's cyber school, and what makes that the case is that the education is all online in what's called a blended learning model. So that each child is given an iPad. This is 7th through 12th grade. They're given an iPad, and they are doing project-based learning via their iPad, and then also engaging on a weekly basis with area businesses and nonprofits that are in their area of interest. So, for example, Douglas J. is one of our strategic partners, and if you're 16, you don't care about chemistry and math, you can go to Douglas J., hang out with cosmetologists, mix dyes, learn about, if you do it incorrectly, you get purple instead of blonde, or you burn somebody's hair off, and this is why chemistry is important and relevant to you. So they're learning about chemistry based on an interest to them. If it's cosmetology, they're either going to maybe be a cosmetologist or get their hair cut by a cosmetologist, and chemistry is a part of their life because of this.
Even though they don't realize it. Now, let me...
exactly.
When you say it's a blended model of cyber and other. Okay, so how many hours are these kids spending in a traditional classroom? None whatsoever.
Right. Nope. So they're learning from the comfort of wherever they prefer to learn. So it could be that they think and learn best at midnight and do all their work from midnight until 4 in the morning because that's when it's best for them and their brain is processing the best. Or maybe they prefer to go to the library or Big B or wherever. So no, they're not in a classroom at any given time. They are meeting with the learning facilitator, the certified teacher, and their mentor, which is a layperson who cares about people and really focuses on the person as a whole. They're meeting with those people virtually and in person on a weekly basis.
Isn't there a value to people following a schedule, getting up at a certain time and getting work done and work being anticipated and expected at a certain time? Isn't there a value to that? Because basically what you're saying is they'll do it whenever they want, whenever they feel like it, right?
Yeah, so what we found is that it's quite interesting. They're actually having to develop their own schedules based on their own personal preferences. So, for example, that person who enjoys working at midnight, well, they're going to start to learn relatively quickly that if they skip a day, well, then they're going to get behind and they're not going to be able to graduate. So, the idea there is if at midnight that's when I learn the best, or 3 in the afternoon that's when I learn the best, that's when I really need to be on my iPad working on my projects and learning about history and math and science and all these different things in a project format.
Yeah, I'm going to check the boxes. Very skeptical at this point in my approach. Homeless people, they set their own schedule, don't they? They get up when they want and do what they want. I mean, seriously, they don't follow any schedule. And how'd that work out?
Right. So what we're finding from these parents is that their experience has been that their kids are having higher levels of confidence in themselves, and they are developing these schedules for themselves in such a way that they are really becoming more self-reliant. That's what I'm hearing from these parents from the testimonials that they're giving us, and they're raving fans about this.
Mm-hmm. And how long has this been up and running and a going deal?
Yeah, Life Tech Academy is beginning its third school year next Tuesday.
All right. And how many students have graduated from your program, from your school?
Yep, in year one, there were 3 that were eligible to graduate. All 3 did. And this past year, there were 6 eligible to graduate, and all 6 did. And they're going into either college or a trade or the field of their interest immediately out of school. All of them have done what's been desirable to them after college.
All right,
after high school, rather.
Are there some parameters they have to meet as far as state testing and so forth along the way?
Yeah, yep. They follow all the state standards, and so everything is the same in terms of the quality of education. What we're finding is the depth of the understanding is higher because it's based on their interests rather than, today we're going to cut open a frog whether you want to or not. Today we're going to learn this, module of education, and here are the variety of ways you can do that. Mm-hmm.
How many people are attending the Life Tech Academy currently?
Yeah, currently there are 150 learners at Life Tech Academy, and that's up from 20 in year one and about 70 a year ago.
I guess we don't call them students?
No, they're learners. We're looking at it from the perspective of, they are learning. We're calling them learners. We have a learning facilitator as opposed to a teacher. We're trying to peel off some of the negative connotations that some people we've found have. So the idea here is that we really want them to be taking ownership of their education, and if they are learning, we're calling them learners.
I see. Any other negative connotations we're getting rid of along the way, just so I'm up to speed next time?
No, I think those are the things that we're calling there that we've got there.
Okay, 150 learners at the Life Tech Academy. All right, so here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to check back with you. I'd like to know how many students went off to college of the 3 that graduated?
And the 3 that graduated in year one, 2 went on to college, and 1 went straight into the field, which was their goal. And in this past school year with 6, I believe 3 or 4 of them went on to college. 1 or 2 have gone on to the military.
Okay. Matthew Anderson, it's an interesting approach. Again, I'm still skeptical. Doesn't mean I'm a non-believer. I just need more empirical evidence, which is what I prefer. Matthew Anderson, greatly appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Steve.
There you have it. Matthew Anderson, a partner with Engaged Education. What do you think about that? Good idea, bad idea, or still need more information? I need more information still. It's 52 after the hour. We'll be right back on the Steve Gruber Show.